new ranking member, Ms. Kuster, for 5 minutes.
I like that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for hosting this important hearing. If there's one thing that Democrats and Republicans can agree on, it's this: hydropower has an indispensable role to play in our future energy system. Hydropower is versatile, can operate in a baseload resource to provide dependable energy to our electric system. It's also dispatchable and can increase or decrease its generation based on changing electricity demand. This flexibility is essential to a renewable, reliable, clean energy system, and I think you've heard that from my colleagues on both sides of the aisle. If it's a second thing that Democrats and Republicans can agree on, it's this: the hydropower licensing and relicensing process is broken. It can take between 7 to 10 years to relicense an existing hydropower facility, and it isn't even unheard of to take longer. Clearly, something is broken if it takes us a decade to relicense an existing piece of infrastructure. Given the agreement that hydropower is an indispensable resource and that the licensing process is broken, we should be able to develop a bipartisan hydropower licensing reform package. I commend Chair Rogers for her longstanding advocacy of hydropower and for holding this hearing. I support many of the Hydropower Clean Energy Future Act's goals. We should focus the scope of conditions imposed during licensing. We should improve coordination across federal agencies, and we should minimize superfluous studies during relicensing. But I cannot support the bill in its current form. We need a more holistic hydropower relicensing reform. While I agree with many of the goals in the proposal, it's missing key aspects of comprehensive licensing reform, such as improving dam safety, enhancing opportunities for tribal engagement, and empowering asset owners to choose the most efficient environmental mitigation. If we work collaboratively, I know we can find common ground. In the Senate, Senators Dane, Cantwell, Risch, and Wyden have a bipartisan licensing reform proposal. Let's incorporate these provisions in the House version. I implore my Republican colleagues to have a dialogue about how we can grow the scope of this legislation to make it bipartisan. And with that, I turn to all of you. Mr. Smith, your testimony lays out the potential for increasing renewable electricity generation by retrofitting non-powered U.S. Army Corps dams with hydropower turbines, and I agree. One of the major barriers to developers retrofitting non-powered Army Corps dams is the Army Corps Section 408 review process, which varies across the 24 districts. Last Congress, I was proud to work with Senator Daines and Feinstein to introduce bipartisan legislation to direct the Army Corps to develop a nationwide, efficient, consistent, and coordinated process across districts for reviewing 408 applications to retrofit dams with hydropower. This legislation was signed into law at the end of last year. Mr. Smith, has the Army Corps finalized its new guidance to implement this congressional directive? And if not, when should we expect the new policy to be in place?
So thank you for asking a question about the 408 program. We know it gets a lot of attention. So we have not finalized any.
And when will you?
I'll have to go back and
it's urgent. It's urgent. What steps will the Army Corps HQ make to adhere to a nationwide process so that we don't have different results in the 24 districts?
So we're taking several steps to improve our 408 program. It gets a lot of attention, and specifically here for non-federal hydropower. We have an updated regulation or internal engineering regulation that provides some efficiencies and improvements, such as delegating approval for 408 projects to our regional commanders in the field. We have appointed district and regional coordinators for the 408 program, which is a step towards consistency. We've added information on our 408 program to our public-facing dashboards, and we're working on sharing best practices that are emerging as districts improve and focus on this. So there's a lot of good things going on, but fully recognize that there is a long way to go. This is a complicated subject.
And you do recognize that it's a lot when we pass a bipartisan bill directing the Army Corps I urge you to work with due speed. So we'll look forward to talking with you further. And with that, I yield back.
Only yields